At the beginning of the stationery shop, Roya, an Iranian woman, has lived most of her life in the United States, married with children, but that's not always how she saw her life panning out. Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Spineless Books, your one-stop shop for all things audiobook. The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali was written in 2019. Marjan Kamali was born in Iran to Turkish parents, and she's lived all over the place. Turkey, Iran, Germany, Kenya, the United States. This is a woman who has been culturally pretty much everywhere. While I immediately respected Kamali's writing, I found this book to be a little bit of a slow burn. And that wasn't really her fault, if I'm going to be fair. I had recently finished reading As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, which is about a Syrian girl growing up during civil war. And while that book was nothing like this book, there was a little bit of a similar vibe to the narrators, and that made it difficult for me to focus at first. The book was narrated by Marjan Kamali, and she's a pretty great narrator, and I appreciated the fact that she narrated in the accent that the character would be speaking in. She did a nice job of varying her voices, particularly the female characters. They had a lot of difference between them, and she really had a great range of emotion throughout the entire book. When I was about a third of the way through the book, I considered putting it down. I kept feeling like I was hanging on to As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow and confusing the two, but I told myself that that wasn't the book, it was my own bias, and I had to refocus and really sort of make a commitment to this book, and I'm really glad that I did. So I did not choose to put it down, even though there was a moment that I could have. The story goes back and forth between present day and the 1950s, and it's really a story that tells you how Roya, who was growing up in Tehran, ended up living in the United States. Now, you know fairly early on in the book that Roya is preparing to have a conversation with a man who she knew in Tehran and was once in love with, and they are now both in the United States having lived full, complete lives, and they are older. So it's a really interesting premise to think she started out somewhere else with a different intent, and now here she is having gone through her entire life, but she's about to revisit her past. Kamali does a great job of teasing you in the writing. There are a number of things that are connected from early on in the book to later in the book, or early on to the middle of the book. And while it's not a thriller and it doesn't in any way have a thriller vibe, she really kind of strings you along and keeps you guessing. So there were a number of moments in the book where all of a sudden I went, oh, okay. So I didn't see things coming, things were not predictable, and she really seeded the information early in the book well, in a way that made me surprised, but it also made things make sense. Ultimately, at some point, I realized I was really enjoying this book, and I found it actually hard to believe that I had ever considered putting it down. So I don't really know where that moment happened, that it transitioned from maybe I won't finish this to wow, that was really good. But it did happen at some point, and I'm really glad I got to the end of this book. This is a story that could have easily been told from two perspectives, but it was only told from the main character's perspective. And something that I think Kamali did very, very well in this book is she would have some characters who played pivotal roles but didn't get a lot of airtime. And what she did was she used that limited time to really give you a foundation of those characters. That way, when their big moments came, and there were some intense scenes that really had a lot of emotion behind them, even though you may not have had a lot of time with a character, all of that emotion and intensity was justified and warranted and really played out successfully. Excellent character development on her part. I really like this book. Fiction, historical fiction, cultural fiction, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it was incredibly well structured. It could have been really complicated, but Marjan Kamali does an excellent job of structuring this in a way that makes it feel easy, even though it's really, really woven and complicated. So I would absolutely read another one of her books. Have you read any of her books? If so, let me know in the comments. But remember, you might love what I hate and hate what I love, so make your own opinion. But thanks for listening to mine. Hope you like and subscribe. See you next time.